Your self-esteem is connected to the story you tell yourself on a consistent basis. Within that story is low self-esteem. However, you have to get unstuck from your story. Being stuck in your story is an emotional and mental experience, and all self-esteem, or lack thereof, begins and ends in the emotional and mental realm. This is a very realistic approach to understanding where our heads can be at times, along with understanding how to unlock the happiness that seems to be lost within us. It's a sad day when you sit down, finally having some type of peace in your life, only to realize that the happiness you should have, or that you once felt, is completely absent. It is at these moments when someone can understand and admit that they may actually be depressed. That, in itself, is a huge acknowledgement for those who are willing to accept their current state of mind. To be honest, I've been at points in my own life when my confidence was demolished, my self-esteem was nowhere to be found, and sadness overcame me on a daily basis. I then realized that this was also the story I was telling myself daily. I'd been reading my life story as one of sadness and confusion of both my past and the unknown future ahead of me. The key was to change my story. Depression was something that had been hanging out with me for a few years. When I realized this, I had some guilt, along with a heavy dose of denial. I felt bad for feeling low, and even worse for not being able to pull myself out of my slump like I had been able to do for most of my life. Again, these feelings were brought on because of the story I was telling myself. That story was that it was weak to be depressed, as it was allowing my feelings and emotions to take over. My brain told me that being sad was something that was done in private, when you were alone. So I didn't burden anyone with my feelings, of course. This is simply not true. While some of us don't show our emotions very often, we are all still very human. We feel things deeply, and we generally care about others' feelings more than our own, and will put ourselves aside for the benefit of those around us. So, let me ask you, what is your current story? Did you just leave a relationship and now find yourself alone? Did you lose a loved one and are not sure how to process those feelings? Did you lose a job and are now feeling overwhelmed with what to do next? The list of events in our lives that can bring us to our knees is endless and affects each one of us differently. So, when you think about being down on yourself for feeling depressed, I think we truthfully need to give ourselves a bit of a break and understand that feeling this way is a normal reaction to all the things that you've gone through. While this chapter sounds like a roller coaster ride, it can be eye-opening as well. This story of yours may still be something you are writing, but you can choose to look at something much brighter for yourself and for your future. If you are feeling buried in the state of mind you are currently in, please know that you can dig yourself out of what you may have buried yourself in. We tend to tell ourselves repeatedly that we are not worth much, that we are not trying hard enough, and that we are undeserving of happiness. All the while, we go rounds in our heads trying to figure out what is wrong with us. Do you want to know the truth? The truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your mind, your spirit, or any other portion of yourself other than the story that you continue to keep telling yourself. If we choose to tell a different story for ourselves, then the reality is that we can get unstuck from our own story. We can choose to not be connected to the negative thoughts and emotions that haunt us, and we can choose to focus on a much more positive state of mind. We are all in control of our thoughts and actions. If our self-esteem truly lies in the emotional and mental realm, then the most effective way to change our point of view is by choosing to look at the positive aspects of our life, rather than focusing on the things from our past. which are simply nothing more than memories. Not all are good, but not all are bad either. This same thing can be said for our future. While it is unknown, there is nothing wrong with assuming that it can be amazing. Simply put, we are all in control of our own story, and we can all become unstuck from our story if that is what we desire. No one is forcing us to stay in the past. No one is forcing us to be unhappy. We do this to ourselves and by our own will. If we do something, even unconsciously, we can undo it as well. If we create our situation, we can absolutely change it. Get unstuck from the story that you tell yourself, rewrite it, and make it amazing.